Myra had always loved the silence of space. She was a young explorer, part of a small human crew that traveled through the outer edges of known stars. Her ship was not large or powerful, but it was strong, steady, and built by the hands of people who believed in courage. For months the crew had searched for new routes and hidden paths through forgotten systems. They lived simply, trading maps and help with colonies, and never seeking glory. One day their scanners caught a strange signal. It was weak and broken, like the echo of a voice lost in storms. Myra sat at the console, listening carefully. The sound was not natural. It was a distress call, but not in any human language. She turned to her captain, an older woman named Lena. "It is someone asking for help," Myra said. Lena nodded. "Then we must answer." The ship changed course and moved toward the signal. As they drew closer, they saw a wreck drifting near a dead moon. The wrecked vessel was unlike anything the crew had seen before. It was shaped like a crescent with shining silver panels, but those panels were burned and torn. Pieces floated around it, glowing faintly. The human crew prepared carefully. The vacuum outside was dangerous, and no one knew who had built this vessel. Yet Myra felt a pull in her heart. Whoever was inside must be hurt, and if they ignored the signal, those lives would fade away. Myra volunteered for the boarding team. She put on her suit, checked her helmet seal, and joined two others as they crossed the empty gap in a shuttle. The wreck loomed large above them. Its hull was marked by scars of battle. Something fierce had attacked it. When Myra entered the wreck, her eyes widened. The walls shone with symbols glowing in pale light. The air smelled strange, like metal mixed with spice. The silence was heavy, broken only by her own breath. Her boots touched the deck as she searched room by room. At last she found a survivor. It was a tall alien with pale blue skin and sharp silver eyes. His body was strong but wounded, his side burned from fire. He wore armor of dark stone-like plates, and in his hand he still held a blade of light, though its glow was fading. He looked at her with suspicion and pride, as if ready to fight even at death's door. Myra raised her hand slowly. "I am here to help. Please, do not be afraid." The alien did not understand her words, but her tone was gentle. His strength broke at last, and he fell unconscious. Myra and her team carried him back to the shuttle and returned to their ship. In the medical bay the crew worked to heal him. Machines scanned his body, and Myra stayed near, watching. Hours passed before the alien opened his eyes again. He stared at Myra, then at the humans around him. For the first time, he was not alone. Through gestures and a translator device, the crew learned his name was Callan. He was no simple soldier. He was a prince of his people, heir to a throne in a star kingdom far beyond human maps. His ship had been attacked by scavengers, and his guards had died to protect him. He had drifted alone, waiting for death, until the humans found him. Myra listened to his story with quiet respect. She could feel his grief, though his voice was calm. Callan looked at her and asked with difficulty, "Why did you save me?" Myra answered with honesty. "Because life matters. Because leaving you to die would not be human." His eyes softened, though his pride remained. Days passed. Callan began to recover, and Myra spent much time near him. She brought him food that matched his needs, repaired parts of his armor, and explained the simple life of her crew. He watched her with quiet curiosity. Then news came. A royal vessel was approaching. It carried Princess Erin, Callan's sister, who had rushed to find her brother. She wished to see him alive with her own eyes. The human crew prepared to receive the royal visitors. They cleaned their ship, set aside gifts, and dressed with care. Myra felt both nervous and curious. She wondered what kind of person this princess would be. When the alien vessel arrived, its size was great and its design beautiful. It shone like crystal under the starlight. From it stepped Princess Erin. She was tall, graceful, and her presence was like a flame that could not be ignored. Her eyes searched the human crew and then rested on her brother. Relief and joy filled her face. But soon her gaze fell upon Myra. The princess tilted her head, studying this simple human who stood beside her brother. Myra felt the weight of her gaze but did not step back. She bowed slightly in respect. Callan spoke to his sister in their own tongue, explaining how the humans had saved him. The princess listened, and her eyes returned to Myra again. There was wonder in them, but also something deeper, something unspoken. That night, after greetings and formal thanks, the crew shared a meal with the royal guests. Erin spoke through the translator. Her words were careful but curious. She asked about human customs, human ships, and human ways of life. Myra answered patiently, explaining how humans worked together, how they built with their hands, and how they cared for each other even in hard times. Erin listened with growing interest. She had lived her whole life among ceremonies and duties. Humans seemed different, freer, more direct. She found herself watching Myra more than the others. The human's voice was simple, yet it carried a strength no crown could give. Later, when the meal was over, Erin walked with Myra to the viewing deck. Stars stretched out in silence before them. The princess stood tall in her shining robes, while Myra wore only the plain uniform of her crew. Erin spoke softly, "Your people are not like ours. You risked yourselves for my brother, though you did not know who he was." "Why?" Myra answered, "Because we do not measure worth by crowns. Every life is worth saving." Erin was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "I begin to understand why my brother looks at you with respect." Myra turned to her, surprised. "Respect is earned, not given. I only did what was right." The princess smiled faintly, a smile that carried both admiration and something warmer. She did not speak of it yet, but in her heart a seed had been planted. As the ship drifted under the stars, the humans and aliens began to share more stories, more meals, more laughter. Barriers slowly lowered. Yet one thing was clear in the eyes of Princess Erin: she had found something in Myra that she had never seen in all the grand halls of her world. Something real, something strong, and something human. The human ship stayed close to the alien vessel for many days. Repairs were needed, and both sides used the time to learn about each other. The humans offered tools, simple machines, and clever ideas. The aliens offered rare metals, healing methods, and wisdom from their long history. It was the first time both groups worked side by side. Myra spent most of her time helping Princess Erin. Though the princess was surrounded by guards and advisors, she often chose to walk with Myra instead of speaking with her own people. There was something about Myra's plain words and honest actions that drew her closer. The humans showed the princess how to fix small machines. Myra let her hold a spanner, guiding her hand to tighten a bolt. Erin laughed when the tool slipped and grease smudged her fingers. It was the first time many of her guards had ever seen their princess laugh freely. Erin asked question after question. She wanted to know how humans grew food on long journeys, how they raised children in colonies, how they faced storms without fear. Myra answered as best as she could, always simple and clear. She explained that humans survived by trusting one another, by sharing both work and rest. One evening, as the sun of the dead moon cast red light across the deck, Aaron sat beside Myra in silence. Her hands touched the metal railing, and her eyes studied the stars. "Your life is so different from mine," Aaron said through the translator. "I was born in a palace of crystal. Every step I take is watched, every word I speak is weighed. Yet you lie free. You speak to anyone, you laugh when you wish, you fix things with your own hands. I envy that." Myra looked at her calmly. "Freedom is not always easy. We must fight for it every day. We must make hard choices. But yes, it is worth it." The princess turned her gaze on Myra, her eyes shining with curiosity and something more. "Tell me, do humans ever bind themselves with love above duty? Do they choose the heart over the crown?" Myra hesitated, thinking. "We do. Love is powerful for us. It gives strength, even when it makes life harder. But sometimes duty and love can walk together." Aaron was quiet for a moment, then she asked the question that would change everything. Her voice was soft, but steady. "Tell me what I must do to be your wife, human." Myra's heart skipped. She stared at the princess, unsure she had heard correctly. The translator repeated the words, and there was no mistake. Myra stood frozen, caught between shock and confusion. She had never thought of such a thing. She had come here to save lives, not to be drawn into the dreams of a princess from another world. "Princess," Myra said carefully, "you do not even know me. You know only that I saved your brother." Aaron smiled faintly. "I know more than that. I have watched how you work, how you speak, how you give without asking in return. No one in my world has shown such things. You are simple, yet strong. I have lived among those who rule with power, but I see more power in your honesty. I cannot stop thinking of it." The air between them grew heavy. Myra searched for words. She respected Aaron, even liked her. But to marry an alien princess, to cross the line between two peoples, was more than she could imagine. "Aaron," Myra said slowly, "your words honor me. But marriage is not a simple matter. Your people and mine are very different. Would they even accept such a union?" Aaron's eyes darkened with thought. "Many will oppose it. My court will call it folly. They will say I lower my bloodline. But I do not care for their words. I want truth, not empty crowns. I see truth in you, Myra. Tell me what I must do to have your hand." Myra turned away, staring at the stars. Her heart battled within her. She had always dreamed of adventure, but this was beyond dreams. This was history unfolding before her eyes. The next days were filled with quiet tension. The princess did not take back her question. Instead, she walked with Myra as before, calm but waiting. Myra herself was restless. She repaired machines, spoke with her crew, and tried to push away the thought, but it returned again and again. One evening, the human captain Lena called Myra aside. She had noticed the closeness between Myra and the princess. "You must be careful," Lena warned. "The eyes of a kingdom are on you. Whatever you choose will not only change your life but may touch all of humanity." Myra nodded. "I know. But how can I turn away from her words? She speaks with such honesty." Lena placed a hand on Myra's shoulder. "Then test her honesty. Ask her to live as we do. Let her show whether she truly understands what it means to share life with a human." Myra thought on this. That night she met Aaron again on the deck. The stars glowed bright, and silence wrapped around them. "Princess," Myra began, "if you truly wish this, then you must know my world. Marriage is not only words. It is life shared, work shared, sorrow and joy shared. Could you live as we do, with no servants, no throne, no shield of power? Could you rise each day and work beside me, facing hardship without comfort?" Erin listened carefully. Her face did not show fear. Instead, she nodded slowly. "Yes. If that is what love requires, I will do it. I do not fear labor, for I fear more the emptiness of a life without meaning. Let me prove it." Myra studied her. The princess's voice carried no trick, no pride. Only truth. Myra felt her heart stir. The following days brought change. Erin asked to live with the human crew. She wore plain clothes instead of royal robes. She joined them at meals, sitting on metal benches instead of golden chairs. She carried tools, learned to clean filters, and even helped to patch wires. At first the human crew was uncertain. A princess was among them, bending to tasks that even new recruits found dull. But Erin did not complain. When her hands grew sore, she kept working. When grease stained her hair, she laughed. Slowly, respect grew among the crew. Myra watched all this with quiet wonder. She saw that Erin was not only words. She was willing to learn, willing to lower herself, willing to live the life of a human. One evening, when the work was done, Myra found Erin resting by the engines. The hum of the machines filled the air. Erin's face was tired but glowing with pride. "Now you have seen," Erin said softly, "that I can live as you live. Tell me, Myra, have I come closer to the answer?" Myra's heart was heavy and light at once. She could not deny the truth before her. The princess of a mighty star kingdom had chosen to wash hands black with oil just to prove her love. It was a gesture no human could ignore. Yet questions remained. What of the alien court? What of the human council? What of the storm of voices that would rise against them? Myra spoke honestly. "You have shown courage, Erin. But this path will not be easy. It will bring storms to both our worlds. Are you ready for that?" Erin's eyes met hers, clear and unshaken. "Yes. I am ready for storms. Because storms pass. But love, once found, is worth more than any crown." The words sank deep into Myra's heart. She had no answer yet, but the seed of choice was growing. And so part 2 closed with the air filled with questions. A princess had asked to be a human's wife, and her vow had begun to shake the walls of two worlds. Myra stood at the edge of decision, knowing the next steps would shape not only her life, but perhaps the future of both peoples. The days after Erin's vow were filled with whispers. The human crew spoke quietly among themselves, wondering if such a union was possible. The alien guards watched with sharp eyes, worried that their princess was walking down a dangerous path. Yet through it all, Erin remained calm. She carried tools, ate with the crew, and spoke with Myra whenever she could. But soon both sides realized that this matter could not remain hidden. Messages traveled through the stars faster than light, and news of the princess's strange request reached her home world. The alien court was shocked. Some elders spoke of dishonor, some of betrayal, while a few wise voices suggested patience. On the human side, council members also received word. They asked how one of their explorers had caught the heart of a royal heir, and whether it could bring trouble or opportunity. Neither side wanted war, but neither trusted easily. So they agreed to set trials, to see if this desire was true or only a passing dream. If Myra and Aaron could endure, both peoples might begin to accept. The first trial was knowledge. Aaron was asked to learn human history, not only the victories but also the failures. She sat with Myra in the small ship library, reading digital pages late into the night. She learned of Earth's long struggle, of wars and peace, of building colonies in cold worlds with little more than courage. She asked questions that showed her deep thought. Why do humans fight among themselves, even when survival requires unity? She asked one evening. Myra answered with honesty. Because we are flawed. But we learn. We fall, then rise again. That is our strength. The second trial was tradition. Myra was asked to take part in alien rites. The court sent a priest with sacred objects. Myra stood inside a circle of light, holding a crystal that carried memories of generations. She had to remain still while voices of the past filled her mind. At first she felt lost, as if 1,000 eyes watched her. But she did not run. She let the memories pass through her, showing respect even though she did not fully understand. Later, the priest bowed to her and said, "You have honored our dead by listening with silence." The third trial was action. Both were sent to help a colony of miners on a distant moon. A storm had broken machines and trapped families underground. Myra and Aaron traveled there together, with only a few crew and guards. They worked day and night. Myra used her skills to repair broken pumps and clear tunnels. Aaron carried supplies, soothed frightened children, and even stood in water up to her waist to help move debris. When the last family was brought out alive, cheers rose from both humans and aliens. In that moment, something changed. The miners, who had once doubted the princess, now looked at her with gratitude. They saw not a ruler far away but a woman willing to risk herself beside them. Myra too felt a shift in her heart. Watching Aaron lift a child onto her shoulders, she knew the princess's love was not only words. But not all were convinced. Back in the alien court, many elders whispered of danger. If our princess marries a human, our bloodline will weaken, they said. Others feared that humans, with their hunger for expansion, would use this union for power. On the Human Council, some leaders spoke of opportunity but others warned of risk. The aliens may turn against us. We may be seen as thieves of their crown, they argued. Both sides called for a final trial. This one was not of books or rites, but of unity. Myra and Aaron would face it together. The trial was simple in words but hard in truth. They had to stand before both peoples and show that their bond was not only personal but strong enough to guide two worlds closer. They had to speak, not as a human and an alien princess, but as partners. As the day drew near, Myra felt the weight heavy on her shoulders. She was no leader, no queen. She was only an explorer who fixed machines and answered distress calls. Could she truly stand before rulers and speak for her people? One night she sat in the quiet of the ship, staring at her hands. They were scarred from work, stained from oil and dust. She wondered if they could ever belong to someone meant for a crown. Aaron found her there. The princess knelt beside her, taking her hand without shame. "These hands saved my brother," she said softly. "They saved the miners. They hold no crown, but they hold more worth than any jewel. Do not doubt them, Myra. Do not doubt yourself." Myra looked into her eyes and saw no trick, no pride, only truth. Strength returned to her. The next day, the hall was prepared. Humans and aliens gathered, elders and captains, miners and guards. Lights shone down on the two women as they stepped forward. The air was thick with tension. First Erin spoke. Her voice was clear, carrying across the hall. I was born in a palace. All my life I was told that duty was more important than the heart. But when I saw Myra, I saw something I had never seen before. She risked herself for my brother without knowing his crown. She gave without asking, she spoke without fear. I began to understand that true strength is not in titles, but in actions. That is why I asked her to be my wife. Not because she is human, not because she is different, but because she is true. The hall murmured. Some faces softened, others hardened. Then Myra spoke. She felt her heart pound, but her voice stayed steady. I am no queen. I am no leader. I am a worker, an explorer. But I believe that life is not measured by crowns or bloodlines. It is measured by the care we give, the courage we show, the love we hold. Erin has shown me that even one raised in palaces can walk beside those who build with bare hands. If she can accept me, then perhaps our peoples can also learn to accept each other. For a long moment, silence filled the hall. Then voices rose in debate. Some elders argued in anger, others spoke in wonder. Humans whispered among themselves, unsure whether this bond would bring danger or hope. At last a decision was given. The trials had not been in vain. Myra and Erin had proven their strength and honesty. The court would not yet bless the union, but neither would it forbid it. The councils agreed to wait and watch. The path ahead was not closed, but it was not yet open. It was a bridge still under building. That night, Myra and Erin stood together on the deck once more. The stars stretched endless before them. Erin touched Myra's hand. We have passed their trials, but greater ones still wait. Myra nodded. I know. But whatever comes, we will face it together. And in that promise lay the heart of their bond. Two worlds had begun to see, even if only a little, that humanity's strength was not in ships or weapons but in the courage to love without fear. The hall had fallen quiet after the decision of the councils. Myra and Erin were not forbidden, yet not accepted either. Their path remained uncertain, and every step forward felt like walking on thin glass. Still, the two women stood together, unshaken by the doubts of others. But beyond the debate of courts and councils, another danger was growing in the shadows. The scavenger fleets that had attacked Callan's ship learned that the prince had survived. They heard whispers that the humans had rescued him, and that the alien princess was spending her days among them. To the scavengers, this was an insult and an opportunity. They thrived on chaos. If a human could walk beside a royal heir, then perhaps the whole alien kingdom was weaker than it appeared. So the scavengers gathered their ships, dark vessels patched together from stolen parts. Their leaders planned a strike not on the palace world, but on the very place where humans and royals now work side by side. News of their approach came suddenly. A patrol ship rushed in with warnings, its hull scarred from a skirmish. The message was clear, the scavenger fleet was moving fast, and they would arrive within days. The human crew gathered in the command room with Erin, Callan, and their guards. Maps of the star system glowed on the screen. The scavenger fleet was large, far greater than either the human vessel or the royal escort. Captain Lena's voice was calm but grim. We do not have the strength to fight them head-on. If we run, they will chase us. If we hide, they will burn this system. We must make a stand, but it must be clever. Myra stepped forward, studying the maps. She pointed to the dead moon where they had first found Callan. The surface is filled with canyons and tunnels. We can use it as cover. We do not need to destroy the fleet, only to make them believe we are stronger than we are. Callan frowned. You mean to use deception? Myra nodded. Yes. It is what humans have always done when faced with stronger enemies. We use the ground, the shadows, and our courage. If we can delay them long enough, reinforcements from your kingdom may arrive. Aaron's eyes shone with resolve. Then we will fight. Not only for ourselves, but to show both peoples that unity has strength. The plan was set. The human crew and alien guards worked side by side. They placed old transmitters in the canyons to create false signals, making it seem like many ships were hidden there. They rigged mining charges to blast rocks down on the scavengers. They painted decoy ships from scrap and left them on the surface. Aaron joined every task. She carried supplies, climbed into tunnels, and even placed charges with her own hands. Her guards protested, but she silenced them with firm words. If I cannot fight beside my people, I do not deserve to lead them. Myra worked tirelessly, moving from one group to another, guiding, repairing, encouraging. She felt the weight of every choice, knowing lives hung on her ideas. Yet she did not falter. At last the scavenger fleet arrived. Dark ships filled the sky, their hulls covered in jagged plates, their engines roaring like beasts. They saw the dead moon below and swooped down, eager to crush what they thought was a weak resistance. But the traps were ready. As the scavenger ships entered the canyons, hidden charges exploded, sending walls of rock crashing down. Decoy signals made them believe they were surrounded by a dozen warships. Panic spread through their ranks. They fired wildly, wasting energy on empty shadows. From behind the rocks, small human shuttles darted out, striking with speed before vanishing again. Alien guards fired from concealed positions, their weapons sharp and deadly. The scavengers were fierce, but they were used to preying on the weak. Against unity and cunning, their strength faltered. In the middle of the battle, one scavenger ship broke through the defenses and aimed for the human vessel. Its guns glowed, ready to fire. Myra ran to the control deck and shouted commands. Power all shields to the front. Divert engines. Hold steady. The blast struck, shaking the ship, but the shields held long enough for Callan to lead a counter-attack from his repaired fighter. He struck the scavenger ship at its side, tearing through its engines. The scavenger vessel spun out of control and crashed into the canyon floor. On the ground, Aaron stood with her guards at a choke point. Scavenger raiders tried to climb through the rocks, shouting and firing, but Aaron held firm. She raised her blade of light, its glow steady, and fought with skill learned since childhood. Yet what struck those who watched was not only her skill, but her courage to fight beside ordinary soldiers. Hours passed, and the scavenger fleet began to falter. The traps, the unity, and the unexpected resistance broke their spirit. One by one, their ships pulled back, limping away into the void. When the last scavenger vessel fled, silence fell across the battlefield. Smoke rose from the canyons, and broken machines lay scattered, but the defenders still stood. Cheers erupted. Humans and aliens together shouted in victory. They had faced a great threat and had not broken. Myra stood among them, her chest heavy with relief. Aaron came to her side, her armor scratched but her eyes bright. You were right, the princess said. Deception and courage together can turn weakness into strength. Myra smiled faintly. It was not only my plan. It was all of us, working as one. The victory carried greater meaning than survival. Word of the battle spread quickly. Across both human colonies and the alien kingdom, people heard that humans and royals had fought side by side, that a princess had stood with explorers, and that together they had driven back a fleet. Old doubts began to soften. Elders who once feared weakness now saw strength. Human leaders who once warned of danger now saw hope. But not all were pleased. In secret halls, some still whispered. If this union continues, our traditions will break, said alien elders. If humans gain the favor of the throne, they may rise too fast, said wary human council members. The battle had won respect, but it had also drawn sharper lines. Myra and Aaron knew this. They stood together on the moon's surface, looking at the stars after the smoke cleared. Aaron's voice was steady. We showed them our strength, yet the hardest choice is still before us. Will our peoples accept what we are, or will they cling to fear? Myra looked at her with calm eyes. Then we will show them again, not with battles, but with truth. Whatever storm comes, we face it together. Aaron reached for her hand, and Myra did not pull away. Their fingers joined, not as soldier and princess, but as two hearts bound by courage. The stars above seemed brighter that night, as if watching a story far greater than themselves unfold. The victory against the scavenger fleet echoed across space. In human colonies, people raised their voices in pride. In the alien kingdom, many spoke with awe about the bravery of the humans who had fought beside their princess. Yet as the stories spread, so did the weight of expectation. The battle had proven unity could bring strength, but it had also forced every leader to decide if they were ready to accept such unity. Myra felt this weight every time she walked through the human ship. The crew smiled at her, some clapping her shoulder, others whispering thanks. Yet she also saw the question in their eyes. Would she stand only as a leader of humans, or as something more, tied forever to the alien throne? Aaron faced the same. Her guards bowed deeper now, treating her with respect mixed with caution. The court far away sent messages praising her courage, but hidden in those words were demands for her to explain herself. A princess fighting beside humans was unheard of, and some still saw it as a danger to old traditions. One evening, when the wounded had been treated and the ships repaired enough to move again, Myra and Aaron stood on the observation deck together. Stars stretched before them, endless and bright. The silence between them was not heavy but filled with unspoken truths. Aaron finally spoke. They will call us before the throne soon. The council will demand answers. They will ask what this bond means for our people. Are you ready for that? Myra's voice was quiet yet steady. I am ready to speak the truth. But truth alone may not be enough. They fear change, and fear is not easily broken. Aaron turned to her, eyes firm. Then we will not give them fear. We will give them a vision. Not a dream, but a path they can walk. The next day, a royal fleet arrived. Golden ships with shining hulls swept through the stars, their banners glowing. They were not there for war but for escort. At their heart was the vessel of the High Council, vast as a city, where the fate of both peoples would be weighed. Myra and her crew were invited aboard with Aaron and Callan. As they stepped into the grand halls, they felt the scale of alien power. Walls of crystal shimmered, tall arches reached like trees, and thousands gathered in silence. Humans walked close together, eyes wide, while alien nobles watched from high balconies. At the center sat the throne, carved from white stone that seemed alive with light. The council sat in a circle around it, their robes heavy with meaning, their faces hard to read. The air was tense, as if the walls themselves were listening. The voice of the High Elder rang out. Princess Erin, daughter of the throne, and Myra of Earth, leader of the human explorers. You stand here not only as yourselves but as symbols. The galaxy has seen your fight, your unity, and your bond. But unity can be a flame or a fire. We ask you now, before all, what path do you choose? The hall grew silent. Myra could hear the slow beat of her heart. She looked at Erin, and Erin gave a small nod, steady and sure. Myra stepped forward first. Her words were simple, spoken in clear voice. Humans are young among the stars. We do not have great fleets or grand kingdoms. But we have will. We fight not because we are strongest, but because we do not give up. When we found Erin, we did not see a princess to use. We saw a life to protect. And in standing beside her, we found something greater than survival. We found hope. She paused, letting the words sink in. If our peoples fear one another, then the scavengers and raiders will always return. But if we stand as one, no threat can break us. I do not ask you to abandon your traditions. I ask you to let them grow, as trees grow when the sun shines on new ground. Whispers rose through the crowd. Some nodded, others frowned. The elder turned to Erin. The princess stepped forward, her presence commanding yet warm. All my life, I was told my duty was to guard my throne and my people. But a throne is only stone without hearts to protect it. On that moon, in the heat of battle, I learned that courage is not limited to bloodlines. Humans stood beside me when they had no reason to. They risked their lives not for power, but for honor. That is the spirit I wish to carry forward. Her eyes swept the hall. I do not choose between my people and Myra. I choose both. I choose a future where our bond shows the path forward, not as weakness, but as proof that strength can be shared. The hall erupted with voices. Some shouted in approval, others in anger. Council members leaned toward one another, arguing fiercely. The elder raised a hand, and silence fell again. This is no small choice, the elder said. For if we accept this bond, humans will no longer stand outside our halls. They will share our councils, our battles, and our burdens. The galaxy will not be the same. But if we deny it, we deny the courage that was shown, and we risk dividing ourselves when enemies watch from the shadows. The council withdrew to deliberate. Hours passed. Myra and Erin waited together, side by side, watched by thousands. Every minute felt like a storm in their hearts. Finally, the council returned. The elder spoke once more. The throne has weighed the choice. We cannot turn from the truth of what has been shown. We accept the bond between Princess Erin and Myra of Earth. From this day, humans shall have a place in our halls, and this unity shall stand as a sign to all. May it bring strength, not ruin. The hall thundered with reaction. Some cheered, some left in silence, but the decision was final. A new chapter had begun. Myra let out a breath she had held for too long. Erin reached for her hand, and in front of all, they clasped it, not as secret companions but as leaders of a new path. The days that followed were filled with change. Human ships were welcomed in alien ports. Alien envoys visited human colonies. The scavengers, hearing of the new alliance, scattered into the dark, no longer eager to strike. But peace did not mean ease. Some still resisted, whispering that the old ways were dying. Others feared that too much closeness would erase what made each people unique. Myra and Erin knew the work had only begun. They traveled together from world to world, speaking not only to leaders but to farmers, miners, soldiers, and children. They told the story of the dead moon, of the battle, of standing side by side when the galaxy seemed to close in. Slowly, walls of fear began to fall. On one distant world, a human boy stood before Aaron and asked, "Are you truly a princess?" She smiled and bent to meet his eyes. "Yes, but a title is only a word. What matters is what we do for others." The boy grinned and replied, "Then I want to be like you and Myra, to fight for friends no matter who they are." Moments like that told Myra they had chosen the right path. Not because the future was easy, but because it was worth the struggle. One night, long after another day of talks and journeys, Myra and Aaron stood again beneath the stars. The air was quiet, the galaxies vast above them. Myra spoke softly. "Do you ever wonder if we will succeed? If all this effort will truly hold?" Aaron answered with calm strength. "Every great journey begins with doubt. But we carry not only our hopes, but the hopes of those who believe in us. That is enough to walk forward." Myra smiled faintly. "Then forward we go." And so they stood, hand in hand, two figures against the endless stars. A human and a princess, proof that courage and unity could shape destiny. Their story was not an ending, but the beginning of a chapter where humanity's voice joined the chorus of the stars, and where hope became the greatest weapon of all.